Hi everyone, this is Val from Creations by You. Last week or so we shared a photo of an earrings we made with beads that looks like toilet paper rolls. And we had so many people call us or message us, and they really wanted to know, like, what were they and do we sell them or how can they make them? So Debbie and I decided to share a video, a little quick tutorial on how to make them. We also will be selling a kit that you can find on our website at cbysparkle.com, or you can give us a call or message us and we can just take your payment over the phone and send it to you. So the product we are using to make this toilet paper roll are seed beads, and these are Delica seed beads. They're made by Miyuki Company, and they're made of glass, and they're from Japan, and each bead is pretty much perfectly cylindrical, which gives it that opportunity for them to lay as like a bricks. So they sit perfectly snug next to each other as long as your tension is pretty decent. It's kind of hard to show you how to make them out of the white beads just because they're so tiny and everything. So I'm going to show you how to make them with bigger beads just so that we can get the idea. I'm going to show with the bigger beads first, and then I'm going to show you how to get started with the tinier beads in this pink color bead, just so that we can make sure that you understand properly how to make them. So aside from the little beads, you're going to need a beading needle, which is about I think it's an 11 size beading needle, and these are longer beading needles, and then some fireline thread, and this is 8-pound. You could also use a 6-pound, and this is a crystal color. In your kit, all of the supplies are included. So I'm going to use these larger beads just so that we can have a better view. So I'm going to start off with an opposite little bead, a tiny bead, and I wanted to make sure that whatever color bead I use here is opposite color of this color so that it can be seen, clearly seen. And this is just going to serve as an anchor bead. I won't be using it for anything else. So the anchor bead is there so it holds back all of our beads, plus it helps keep track of where the base of where we started from. So I'm just going to string up this one bead and sew back into the bead from the opposite direction. And before I pull all of my thread, I want to make sure I have about 6 to 9 inches of excess thread as a tail from where my stopper bead was, my anchor bead. I want to pull this nice and tight. Then I want to pick up 8 of these colored beads here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so just to always double check your count before you continue. So yes, I have 8. And I want to push this all the way to my anchor bead. So there you see why the anchor bead really does help. So the stitch we're going to be using is a basic peyote stitch with even numbers. So I have my 8 beads. I'm going to string up, pick up one more bead. I'm going to skip this first bead here and sew into the next bead. And then I want to pull my thread tight. So you already see how my first bead is stacking on top of the next, out of the one bead that I first used. Pick up another bead and sew, skip this bead here and sew into the next. Oops, sorry, let's do that again. So anchor bead here. So I skipped this bead next to here and I'm going to sew into the bead after. Okay, pick up another bead, skip the next bead, sew into the bead after that. So you may have to position your hands, reposition them every so often. So skip and go into this last bead. Make sure you don't sew back into your anchor bead though, just make sure you go around it. Okay, here we go. So now I have completed, 2 whole rows of my beading. So I'm going to do one more section, just to one more row so we can make sure that you're comfortable. So pick up a bead and sew into the next. So as you see here, we're going to sew only into the beads that are raised. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 So I'm going to pick up a bead, sew into this first raised bead, pick up another bead, sew into the next raised bead, and at this point I can pull my thread to make sure it's tight. I don't want to keep too much loose thread around because then it's hard to tighten as I go along. Pick up a bead, sew into the next raised bead, and one more time. So picked up a bead and sew into that last raised bead from that row. Okay, so here you go. This is our basic steps here. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to show you how to do it on a tiny thread. So I'm just going to cut here because I don't need this. I'm just going to start all over again from the beginning. I just want to keep my needle because it's really not that fun to thread a needle. So I'm going to take a dark color bead that I have lying around. I'm going to string up that one bead. So this here is going to be my anchor bead. So now we're going to work with the tiny beads just so that I can make sure that you understand how to do it with the tiny beads as well. So I strung my anchor bead. Now I'm going to go again in through the opposite direction in my anchor bead. And don't forget to leave your tail. Pull this nice and tight. So I'm going to use these pink opaque beads, and I forgot to mention earlier is you really want to make sure for your toilet paper rolls that you use an opaque bead, because a transparent bead really wouldn't show off the effect of how it looks like a toilet paper. So that's why we use opaque bead. So you can use any color. That's the white. Right here I'm going to be using the pink because I think the pink is easier to so that you could see for filming. I'm going to pick up 8 beads. Okay, let's double check the quantity. So I have 4 and 4, yes. Okay, so I have 8 beads. I'm going to push that down to my stopper, my anchor bead. Okay, I'm going to hold my beads tightly in my fingers. I'm going to pick up 1 bead, skip a bead, and sew into the next bead. Pull that tight. So you already see I have my first 2 beads standing up. I'm going to pick up another bead. Okay, so because it's tiny, I'm going to show you again. So I'm going to skip this next bead and go through the bead after that. Pull tight. So you see it already starting to take shape. So you can just pull the long string a little bit, and it should always keep its tension pretty nicely. So pick up another bead, skip 1 bead, go through the next bead, pick up another bead, and now we're going to skip and sew through the last bead on the end. Alright, so I'm going to pull my thread nice and tight so that I can see that, make sure my pattern looks nice. I can see all my beads. You see the double stack, single, double stack, single, and so on. So I'm going to continue this with another row. So pick up a bead. Now we're only going to sew through the raised beads like how we did on our larger bead. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So pick up 1 bead, sew through the first raised bead. Next, pick up another, sew through the next raised bead. Another, pick up, sew through the raised bead. Okay. And there we are. So at each time that you finish your row of 4, you want to always just make sure that it's nice and tight before you start your next. If it seems a little loose, then you just want to try to tighten your threads a little bit by holding down your project with your thumb and your pointer finger and your opposite hand. You're going to pull your thread a little bit more. Okay, so now we're done with this part. I want to show you, so let's say you have 32 rows altogether. The easiest way to count is to have your strip of, well, this would be here 32 rows. And you want to double check your rows before you finish tying off. I fold it in half and I start to count all the circles, and then I just times that by 2 because I get distracted easily. So if I just left it in one long, I'd be like, wait, did I count to 10 or did I count to 20? So I just find this makes it a little easier. So when you make sure you have enough and you have your loose ends here, before you just cut off your threads, what you need to do is you need to anchor your threads down. So the easiest way to do it is to sew back through some of your beads. I usually go for the next row below. So my thread's coming out from this bead right here. So I'm going to sew back through the row below and pull out my needle and my thread and sew back up through the top row. And at this point I can decide if I want to sew. Where did my little core bead just run away to? Oh, here it is. Okay. I can either sew my beads, my beading strip onto around this coil. So by doing that, you would just sew in and back through some of the beads and back through and just keep going down the row and watch the beads wrap around the metal coil. But that takes a lot of time. It's not really necessary to do it that way, but some people like that really maybe super clean look of it being sewn, and they know that they can just take it off anytime they want. However, to me that's a little bit work for me, and I get distracted, and sometimes I just want to get my project done fast. So what I would do is I'm going to sew back through my rows, about maybe 3 or 4 more rows down, using some of my thread, maybe 3 inches of my thread, because I don't want to cut my thread right where I'm at now. I want to be able to sew my thread through the beads so that I don't have to worry about my beads loosening up, because I have no knots in here. So I'm just going to sew through the next row below and just keep going down the rows. And because we're using such a fine needle and a fine thread, and the holes of these beads are actually pretty big, you can just sew through several times through. Okay, so I think I can go maybe 1 more row. So see from the back, it's just back and front. Okay, so I think we're good here. So I'm going to take my needle at the time and cut my thread off with my scissors. And from the other side where my anchor is, I can now take off my anchor bead. So just by pulling it out, just like that. And I want to pull my thread nice and tight just to make sure that my beads aren't loosening. And now I want to attach my needle to that side thread. And this is why we want to have that long extra tail at the end, because now we have to sew this tail end through the beads. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down the row below, pull out my thread and sew back up from the top and back through. Sometimes it's a little stubborn, you just have to take your needle back out and position it back in, and just want to go down a few rows. Again, just to make sure that your thread doesn't become loose and you lose all your bead project. So it looks like this, and then again you would cut off your thread here. Okay, so let's say that we're done with all of those beads, and I'm going to show you how to attach your ribbon of beading to this coil to make our center coil. Okay, so I'm going to use these adhesive dots called glue dots. Now the glue dots are these cute tiny little drops of glue that are on this piece of tape. So you can either just pull it off with your fingers. I like to use my needle or some kind of pickup tool to pick them up. So I pick them up and I'm just going to lay them down on top of my bead project. Side by side, I'm going to put 2 across each other just so that I can attach my coil a little bit better. Oops, there we go. Okay, so here is my glue dots. Oops. They're pretty forgiving. If they get all ugly or whatever, you can just peel them off. You can either reuse them, try to straighten them up, or if not, they're cheap enough where you can just pick them off the tape and stick new ones on there. So I have my 2 dots of glue. I'm just going to insert my coil right there on the top of them. So I want to kind of put my coil right between the ends of the strip of beads just to make sure they lock in. And I want to kind of give them a nice little smash, like just squish them onto the bead. Just, you want to help the glue just kind of adhere into the coil and the beads at the same time. So now I still want to make my coil even more onto the, so I can just use single dots here. So I have one here, and I'm going to add one more a little lower. Okay, right here. And then I will take this roll and I'm going to keep rolling it, and as I'm making it, I'm just going to keep rolling and smashing the beads onto the coil with the glue. Okay, so now I have a partial roll all attached. See? Right, so now I'm going to add in another glue dot a little ways down. I'm going to add another 3 together. So now I have a total of, let's see, 2, 3, 4, probably is a total of 6. So here, one more. And if you find that after you've rolled it and you want it to be a little tighter and you want to redo it, as long as you do within a few hours, the glue dots you can actually take off and open it all up and peel off the glue dot and start again if you'd like. Okay, so here I have my glue dots, and I'm just going to pull tight this with my left hand and roll tightly with my right hand. Okay, just to make sure, and here we go. Okay, and give everybody a little bit of a squish. So at this time you can decide if this is enough of a flap or if you want it a little bit tighter. So I think I want it a little tighter. I'm going to put one more glue dot. So now I have a total of 7 dots on one toilet paper roll. Okay, so I'm going to lay that right here, and I'm going to just roll this one over. Okay, so here is my roll of toilet paper, my pink roll of toilet paper. So Debbie wanted to choose pink because she thought that would be a kind of a cute color for toilet paper, which it is really cute. Okay, so from here I can decide whether I want to put them on a like on a hoop to make it an earring. So here I have like just an existing pre-made wire hoop, and I just strung this one roll on there, and then I can just make a loop and roll it up. So I just put the notch into this existing eye loop, and now I'm just going to take my plier and form an eye here. Okay, so this one's already pre-made, and in the kit it already comes with 2 of these. If you choose, if you want to make your own hoop, one other way to do it would be to take a 4-inch piece of 18 gauge wire, and we're going to form an eye loop on one end. So by doing that, I'm going to hold my wire 3/8 inch from the top with my thumb and my pointer finger, and my tool, my round nose plier, I'm going to hold at the tip. And what I want to do here now is I want to bend this top of the wire at a angle here. See right there? And now I'm going to take my tool, I'm going to roll my hand away from me until it becomes uncomfortable. So just like that, just quick roll. So at this point I can't roll anymore, just with the easy motion. So I take my tool out and I'm going to reposition my tool and give it one more roll to close it. Then you can take any kind of round small bottle. So I'm just using my doTERRA On Guard's hand sanitizer spray. You can use a medicine bottle or maybe a big pen or nail polish bottle, whatever you can find. So I'm just going to hold this eye loop down. I'm going to roll this around right here, and then I'm going to take this out from here, and I'm going to slip in my toilet paper roll. And you can decide whether you want the toilet paper to roll be facing towards you or to be like on the outer or rolling under. So you know how some people always fight about that, whether they like their toilet paper under or over. It's up to you. Big debate there, right? So I want to take my tool, I'm just going to bend my eye loop just a little bit here so that I can slip my wire in comfortably. My wire end here. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to hold my tip of my wire here, and I'm going to hold my wire side with the eye loop in my fingers, and I'm going to roll away until I can't roll anymore and close that loop. So right here I have my earring hoop. And if you want to make it smaller, like a smaller coil, a smaller hoop here, you can certainly do that as well. At this point, I can now add my ear wire or an ornament hook or whatever it is you want to add to it. You can open up your eye loop. And of course, again, decide which way you want it. I like my toilet paper hanging over. So I'm going to make sure that when I attach it to the hook, that will be how it is. So I'm going to slip my earring wire in there, the bottom hoop, and close it. So now I have my toilet paper roll here, my pretty and pink toilet paper roll, and here's the white. And so really you could decide what color you want to make it. You can really make it any color. So again, you can find a kit for this on our website at cbysparkle.com. The kit will include all of the products that you need to make the toilet paper roll. It's going to make 2 of them. If you don't want to order online and you want to call in an order or come by and pick something up, then just give us a call and we can all get that all taken care of for you. All right, well, have fun and happy toilet paper making. Yeah, and we'll see you again on another video. Thanks a lot. Bye.